2 games are officially in the books for the men's basketball team, so it's time for our first basketball report of the 2016-17 season. And here with Coach Josh Schertz to talk about those 2 games. Coach went over to Greenville, Tennessee, 2 tough opponents in the SAC versus Conference Carolinas Challenge. And, I know that you might not have, from what we talked about, the quotes you were sending me after the game, the discussions we were having after the game, you might not have been completely pleased with the process, but the results speak for themselves. The 92-70 win over King, and then another 94-66 win over Lees-McRae. So just assess your team's performance in those 2 games.
Well, I thought, certainly you take the first game, I really thought we were good opening night in terms of our competitiveness and attention to detail, defensively particularly. Really did a good job of getting the shooters, did a good job in defensive transition. I thought, really came out, and with King it's very specific kind of what you got to do, and we were able to really do that for most of the game, and I thought we were on the backboards, did a pretty good job on the backboards for the most part. It was just it was an overall really for game 1. There's so much. It's a first games are tough. Like I told the team going into it, you look at last year, the 2 teams that played for the national championship, us and Augustana, got beat in their first games. The season turned out okay. You're pumped up and everybody's flying around, and no one really has an idea of what they have at this stage. So we're all a major work in progress. So to see us come out and perform and compete well again, there was a ton of things execution-wise that can be cleaned up. I think that's probably the case for most teams in November. I mean, you're trying to have some success while you grow and develop and get some habits, and certain things you just need game experience to do. But game 1 I was pleased. I thought game 2 with Lees-McRae, I didn't think, it was an afternoon game coming off an evening game, quick turnaround. I didn't feel like, certainly credit Lees-McRae, because I thought they came out, and like I told you, I thought, all the small battles inside of a game, all the hustle things a lot of people overlook, they really, for the most part, dominated those, whether it was, long rebounds, 50-50 balls, being first to floor, all those little things. They were the quicker and hungrier team, and usually the hungrier team wins those small battles and inside the game, and they did for most of it. I thought first half we got off to a really sluggish start. We were down 7-0, 9-2. They led 15-10, I think. 13 minutes, to go in the game, and I thought we defended fairly well. We got to do a much better job, I think, in both games. Part of being a great defensive team is finishing possessions. You do that with rebounding. We're giving up way too many offensive rebounds. First half, we turned it over 10 times. We're very careless. We have to be more solid and take care of the ball. Obviously, good offense starts with getting a shot. So 10 turnovers in the first half was obviously unacceptable because they weren't pressing us. It was just, against the zone and making careless plays or trying to make showtime plays that weren't there. And we've got to hit more singles and try to be less home runny, and understand, spectacular comes from solid. When guys try to make spectacular plays, throw a diagonal cross-court pass between 4 defenders usually just leads to a turnover. It doesn't lead to very good basketball. So there's a lot of things execution-wise on offense. I thought, we faced 80 minutes of zone. We didn't see one possession of man. So when you see 80 minutes of zone, our zone offense execution wasn't great. Whether it's in our sets or our flow action behind it, we weren't very good. Our press break could do a better job getting the spots. So there's a lot of things to clean up, but again, it's November, and I'm pleased. Obviously, anytime you start off, 2-0, and you play two pretty good teams, and you feel like hopefully we learned a little bit about ourselves. We'll get some truth. We got exposed in some areas. Then you got to come back, go to work, and get ready for what promises to be a really tough week this week.
When you had to be particularly pleased with the King game, which I know you just pretty much summed that up, but everything that went into that, King was a team that returned almost everybody from last year's team that went to the NCAA tournament, was just a few possessions away from going to the second round. And you hold them to 35% shooting, particularly did a good job guarding the three-point line, 9 for 31 from 3. And then you guys were able to produce 92 points despite really having a tough night shooting from beyond the three-point arc yourself. So really, against that quality of opponent, a team that beat you in the season opener last year, you had to be really proud overall with the kind of complete package.
Yeah, I mean, they certainly return. They returned 4 starters from last year, and Georgia's teams are always terrific. I don't remember, they're usually, well in the mid-20s in wins, and were picked to win the Conference Carolinas. They got a team that I think will be good. They're kind of finding themselves. Like us, we bring back 3 starters, they bring back 4. We each lost our bench. And so I think we're all trying to figure out rotations and playing time and stuff. But, yeah, I mean, when you come out and what we talk about all the time is trying to hit our head, on our ceiling each game, and our ceiling right now is not very high because we don't have enough experience, enough habits, we don't have enough, time together. So, but can we hit our head on our ceiling each and every game? And I thought in the King game, for November 11th, we probably were pretty close to that, particularly on the defensive end. I think offensively we could have done some things better. Again, turned it over too much in the first half. Thought second half in both games we cleaned it up. I want to say we had 9 turnovers in the first half against King and 10 in the first half against Lees-McRae. But if you look at the second half, we only had 6 against King and 2 against Lees-McRae. So we do a better job in the second half of being a little bit more solid with the ball. But a lot of things to clean up. But certainly for game 1, I thought that was about as well as we could do. And like I said, particularly on the defensive end where they're so hard to guard because of how good they are in transition. The shooting with Good and Laveau, and I thought we did a really nice job. I really credit a lot to Luquan Choice, Dorian Pinson. I thought Cornelius Taylor. Those guys were terrific defensively and chasing those guys off screens and taking them off the 3-point line. As you said, 9 for 31 against King. You do that, it gives you a pretty good chance to win.
Well, and then you hold Hunter Laveau and C.J. Good to a combined 11 points. Those are 2 all-conference first-team Conference Carolinas guys. So pretty stellar performance defensively there. Talking about the individual pieces, a guy that we were kind of talked about trying to fit in systematically this year was Chris Perry. Came off the bench and really gave you guys a lot. 24 minutes against King, 20 points, 7 rebounds, and a block in there. And then 25 minutes against Lees-McRae, 18 points and 9 boards. So, and then a couple blocks as well. So a guy who looked like, at least from a stat perspective, really came in and was able to make an impact in a short amount of time.
He did. Chris has gotten better, over the last few weeks. He really got off to a slow start, in terms of October and the preseason and playing the way maybe we needed him to play and the type of, effort we expect and type of execution we expect. And it's a process when guys come in. But, the thing about Chris is, he's a great kid. We knew that on the front end, as we said, he knew who we were here. He knew what kind of program we have, and he still decided to come here. And that says a lot about who he is. And then, him coming off the bench this weekend, how many guys, start at a high major level at South Florida, come in and are in Division II and come off the bench, and he doesn't pout. He just came in, and he's gotten better and better. His last scrimmage was his best, and then these 2 games were certainly his best, and we hope he can kind of, this is a building thing. Certainly he's a guy that's really capable. He's got good size, he's got good touch, he's a guy that can affect the game defensively. He's a guy that can be good on the backboards. Can be a rim protector. He can do a lot of things when he's focused and when he's energized, and that was good to see. I mean, certainly again in both games, we needed that, and it was he probably played better than what I had expected going in, but certainly we know what he's capable of. We've seen it in spurts, and now the question and the key for him is going to be, like all of us, consistency, building his growth and development. I think he's with a handful of guys that haven't played here that our season's going to hinge on their development, and he's one. I mean, Cornelius Taylor, Rudy Big Boy, Deshaun Patterson, Hunter Spall hasn't played. These guys, how they grow, develop, get experience inside of what we're doing. And Hunter's been here 5 years, but he's never played. So you have all these different moving pieces and their development, and then obviously the 3 core guys, Trayvon Shaw will be in that group of guys. And then you got the three core guys. But Chris Perry's a guy that we think can make a major impact for us this year, be a major piece of what we're trying to do, and hopefully this weekend was a starting point, a building block, and he gets better and better as the year goes on.
Well, now let's turn our attention. You moved to 2-0 this past weekend, which you got to feel great about now. We turn our attention to a weekend that we've been kind of preparing for all year. We talked about it on the way to Carson Newman last year. Invited to the first annual Small College Basketball Hall of Fame Classic. Get to play in the Ford Center up there in Evansville, Indiana. Starts off on Friday night against, Kentucky Wesleyan, who has won a NCAA Division II record, 8 national championships. And then turn right around and face Alabama Huntsville, the 5th-ranked team in the country. Both those teams are also 2-0. So initially, just talk about the challenge. Well, first, the opportunity to get to go to Evansville and play in the Ford Center in something of this magnitude, and then also those two opponents.
Well, I think it's a great opportunity. Is why we did it. I've been kicking myself since we agreed to it. But with the field being so good and us being such a work in progress. But at the end of the day, it's a great opportunity for our program. It's a great opportunity for our kids. I think it's going to be a special weekend. You look at the way the tournament's set up, and you got a lot of the blue bloods in Division II basketball. We're not a blue blood by any stretch. We haven't been doing this long enough. But you look at Kentucky Wesleyan, 8 national titles, and Southern Indiana. When you think Division II basketball programs like Kentucky Wesleyan, Southern Indiana, Florida Southern, those are the first programs that come to mind. Metro State being there somewhere, but it's a great field filled with some of the best programs in Division II basketball. So we're really honored to be a part of it, and I think it'll be special as they induct the first ever Small College Basketball Hall of Fame class on that Thursday night. We'll be able to go to that, and then obviously play Kentucky Wesleyan Friday, who's outstanding. They are just kind of big, and I watched them, this weekend or yesterday really, and big and physical and terrific guard play with Charles Foster and Kenjay Bosley, and they've got size inside and Jordan Jacks and big kid inside Vigilance. They're just a good basketball team, very strong. Reminds me a lot of Barry last year, who we played in the Elite Eight, in terms of their, the way they're kind of just designed, very physical, very strong. A lot of D1 transfers, a lot of junior college transfers, a lot of guys that are men. So we'll have our work cut out for us out there with them. And then you turn around and play Huntsville, who's top 5 in the country, and certainly has been one of the preeminent programs in Division II. You got Lenny Acuff, who's as good a coach as there is in basketball, not Division II basketball, not even college basketball, but I think just in basketball, does an amazing job, and his teams are always, just maximize everything they can do on offense and defense. They're very hard to guard. They play very, very intelligently. They play very hard. They're very tough. They shoot the ball extremely well. It'll be an incredible challenge to try to prepare for those 2 games in a 4-day window, and then obviously flip around and have to play a 6 o'clock game Central Time on Friday, and then turn right around, finish that game, and play Huntsville 18 hours later, and be at our best in both those games. But certainly it's a challenge we need to be excited about. It's an opportunity to play 2 great programs. It's an opportunity to see kind of where we are and get exposed to teams just like we did last year with Bellarmine, that are teams that, the kind of teams, if we're fortunate enough to get to March and position to play in some big games, those are the kind of level teams you're going to face and the kind of level teams you're going to beat. And so these will be measuring stick games for us in terms of where we're trying to get to, and hopefully we can go out there and play well and be competitive.
Well, Kentucky Wesleyan picked to win the GMAC this year. Alabama Huntsville, obviously 5th in the country, picked to win the GSC. You talked about early in the season the one thing you were going to get was truth. How do you prepare for opponents like this, especially after this past weekend when we might not necessarily got the truth that we were exactly expecting with 2 20-point victories? Yeah,
I think, the key is to try to, I thought this weekend we maybe caught, King on a night where they weren't at their best. We played well and they didn't. We've all been on, both sides of that. I've, as a coach, we've had nights we didn't play well, opponent played well, and we got, blown out, and it happened to on the flip side against King. So I think that was something where certainly we played well, but then and again the combination of them not playing their best. But yeah, I think hopefully guys will understand what's in front of them. We didn't get as much out of that. But we got enough when I went back, watched film, and we'll watch it today with them in terms of areas we were exposed in, areas we got to get better in. And I think we got some core guys that understand that it's about, not so much, I know fans, it's winning and losing, but for us it has to be about the technical aspects. Did you do your best? Did you play your best? Where can we get better? How can we improve so we can be all that we can be, individually and collectively? And that's what, for us to be an elite team at the end, everybody's got to be working to be all they can be individually, and then that'll help us collectively, get where we need to get to. So hopefully we'll pull some truth out, and we'll certainly, I don't think there's any question that the level of competition is going to go up this weekend. I mean, Kentucky Wesleyan's outstanding. They're a team that, is an Elite Eight capable team. Alabama Huntsville's an Elite Eight capable team, and I think it goes without saying both those teams, if you're Elite Eight capable, you're national championship capable. And our guys are smart to understand that, hey, we've got to improve between now and Friday because what we did probably this weekend won't be enough to get it done in the Ford Center this coming weekend. So it's on us to go back, have good work for 4 days, and certainly move forward with the idea that we got to have a lot of growth. We're nowhere near where we need to be, and the only way we're going to get that growth is to kind of go through the process day by day and improve and stay immersed in what we need to do to be the best we can be, and not worry about I think people talk all the time but it's great to have confidence, but confidence should come from your daily work. So we got to do the work so we can go out, feel confident going into Friday and Saturday, and that confidence will come from what we do Monday through Thursday.
So what are some of the technical aspects that you guys need to clean up to get yourselves ready to take the floor against Kentucky Wesleyan on Friday? Well,
I think, execution. I mean, we didn't face much man, but our zone execution, our sets, we didn't run them correctly. A lot of our flow offense was terrible. We scored a lot of points just by having good players. And that's good, but that's not always going to be enough. We had some guys make shots, and we did I thought, a poor job of running zone offense. Our press break, press breaks. We got to be. It's harder for us because we play. This year we're kind of a hybrid team. We play some with, 2 5s in there, and that's different than how we play when we have Dorian at the 4, or sometimes we play small, and so you have these various things. So guys got to be smart in their approach, but we didn't do a very good job of adjusting there. I think the most glaring thing to me that stood out in the weekend was with massive size advantage. We gave up way too many offensive rebounds, and we have to be better about, finding bodies, putting a body on body, not relying on our size and athleticism, because that's not always going to be enough, and it wasn't always enough this weekend. And then the other bugaboo is turnovers, and it's not. It wasn't terrible. I think we had 27 turnovers in the 2 games combined, but the first halves were terrible. And you turn over 10 times in the first half against Kentucky Wesleyan, or 10 times in the first half against Alabama Huntsville, you're probably down so much that it's not recoverable. And so we've got to get better at taking care of the ball and being more solid and on the offensive end. So there's a ton, to clean up. There's a ton technically, and that's where our focus has to be is improving our habits, getting better, and making that stride between today and when we step on the floor on Friday, that we're a little bit better basketball team, and we're a little bit more sound in those areas, because that's ultimately what we're going to have to do to have any chance to have success this weekend.